Hey there guys, welcome to Rawreviews. So today we're going to be looking at the iPhone 10, the iPhone that everybody's been talking about. This is the 64GB model. We're going to quickly talk about the price here for a second. So the 64GB model is $1,500 with taxes in Canada. That's a lot of money. The 256GB model is $1,700 with taxes in. Again, could you imagine what you could do with that? You could pay your rent, you could pay your tuition, you could pay for a nice vacation overseas or something, right? It's a lot of money that you're spending on this phone and you want it to be perfect. So as a disclaimer, I've had this phone for 2 weeks now, and this is actually my second iPhone 10. The first iPhone 10, I had to replace it. It had the manufacturer defect in it. So I got it replaced with the white 64GB version here. So let's quickly take a look at it. As you can see here, we have this big, beautiful screen. It's a 5.8-inch display screen. The only thing that's intrusive is this notch, and we'll talk a little bit about the notch later on. The back, I have the white model here. The sides are nice silver, stainless steel. Just a very nice looking phone actually. The only thing that doesn't look nice, I think, is the fact that it's not uniform. I would wish that somehow the black around the screen was white, just so that kind of fit with the whole phone. Other than that, the phone looks really nice. It feels really nice. It has a very nice heft to it. The feeling of the glass and the metal on the sides is premium. It's what you're expecting to get for $1,500. Is this phone perfect? Absolutely not. So the best way I would describe this phone is it's a great proof of concept for the future. So what I mean by that is a lot of the new features that Apple has introduced in this phone, because there's really actually a couple of truly new features, they're still not perfect. They still need some work. And so let's get started talking about these features. There's really three main things: your screen, the notch, the Face ID, and then the lack of a home button. So let's talk about the first feature that I think is the most significant, and that's actually the lack of a home button. So you might be thinking, how am I going to live without a home button? And actually, it's not that bad. It's actually pretty intuitive to use the phone the way it is. So everything now is gesture based. So if you want to go into an app, you click on an app, of course, you know what it is. Now if you want to exit, you swipe up. Once you get used to it, it's actually much better than reaching and pressing. It just feels more intuitive to just kind of swipe up, ooh, and you're done. Let's say you want to switch between apps. You have a couple of ways doing it. You can just swipe to the left or to the right, and that's going to switch you between the apps. If you want to bring in your app multitask drawer, you kind of swipe up, hold it for a second, and then all your apps show up here. And if you want to actually delete the apps, so just hold and then swipe up. Now your notification center is from the left side, and your control center is from the right side. That's pretty much it when it's the gestures. It's really not a lot of gestures that you have to learn. It took me about half an hour to get used to them, and they work quite well. So the worst gesture though, there is one gesture that I think is terrible, and that is reachability gesture, which brings down everything from here kind of to here so you can reach it better. And that's kind of like a scroll from the halfway through this bar here down. You see, I'm struggling with it because it's actually not that good. Let's see if I can get it to work. Nope. See guys, I'm struggling with it right now. So let's open an app and do it in an app. Here we go, finally. Do you see that how long it took me? That's the worst gesture in this phone, is getting this to work. You might be able to get used to it later on. You might be able to do it better than I do. Personally, I hate it. I think this is the worst gesture for it. I wish there was another way to change it. But here we go. So it's kind of like halfway through here where it works. But really, you see how many times I try to get it to work and it just doesn't. So from the gesture controls, that is the worst gesture that they have. All the other gestures work just fine, and it's actually pretty intuitive. It won't take you too long to get used to it. So let's move on to the next feature, and it's Face ID. So because there's no home button, there's no fingerprint reader, and the only way you can unlock this phone is with Face ID, Apple's new technology, which scans your face and unlocks the phone. So I was a big skeptic about this. I thought it wasn't really going to work. And it does work, just not as good as I would like it to. So I'll unlock it for you so you can see the phone is locked right now. I'll let it scan my face and you can see or the lock unlocked, and then you just swipe up. So I'll look again, swipe up, and it unlocks the phone. When this works right, when you do this at the right time, the perfect timing, it works fantastic. It's like magic. You just open the phone up. It literally feels like the phone was open all the time. But that's saying there's about 20-30% of the time that it actually won't work. It's not perfect. It really isn't. It's a first generation technology. I hope it's going to get better in the future. But for now, it's not perfect. I'm going to tell you a little bit about when it doesn't work. So you have to be facing the phone. It has to be right in front of you for it to work. It has to be in the right distance. If your phone is too close at your face, if you're waking up from the morning from bed and you're looking at your phone, most likely it won't work because you're holding it too close. If you're kind of hold the phone way too far out, it also won't work. It has to be in the right distance. If you look at the phone in the wrong angle, it won't work. I didn't have problems with sunlight. I didn't have problems in darkness. It worked just fine. It's just honestly all about holding the phone in the right position every single time you want to open it. Now, like I said, it's better than the Android ones. I've used the Samsung, what do they call it? The iris scanners. I think it's pretty crappy. It didn't work as good. This is better. This is a lot better than the Android implementation of it. But again, it needs improvement. I don't think it's as good as Touch ID. I think Touch ID was better. I think Touch ID was perfected right. It's had many years to perfect the fingerprint scanning. And I think this is going to be a similar thing. A few years from now, I'm going to say this is perfect. For the moment though, it still needs some work. So it works, just not all the time. So be ready for that. You are going to have to use your password every now and then. Alright guys, so now we're going to talk about this notch here. This is, I guess, the most talked about feature, problem, whatever you want to call it, of the iPhone 10. A lot of the viewers have been saying that they can ignore it, that it really doesn't bother them, and I'm on the fence on that. So let's take a look at something. Let's open the Photos app here for a second. See, if you're viewing your photo like this, for sure, it's not a problem at all. If you want to see your picture in full screen, it's right there. It's really annoying when it's right there. I can't ignore it. I know a lot of people say that they've gotten used to it. I've had this phone for the last 2 weeks and it bothers me still. When I'm doing regular things, like if I'm browsing the web, for example, when I'm opening a few of the little apps, if I'm sending messages or kind of browsing the App Store, it doesn't bother me as much because all the content is centered from here to here. Everything's at the bottom part. It just kind of stays out of your way. So when it comes to those things, it's not bad, it's fine. It's there. It's noticeable, but it doesn't impede on your ability to view the content that you want. But if you're watching video, and I like to watch a lot of videos on my phones, it's very noticeable, and I do find it very annoying. If you're watching Netflix, if you're watching YouTube, you're going to be able to zoom in all the way, but the notch is going to be there, and it is going to be intrusive. So that's something that you have to kind of live with. Either you're okay with the notch impeding a little bit on your viewing quality, or you're gonna completely hate it and not want to have it. For me, I'm on the fence about it. It's okay. I live with it, but I'd rather it not be there. Alright guys, so let's talk about the camera. A lot of you guys care about the camera. Personally though, I don't buy a phone for the camera. It's just not a big feature that I actually use all the time. I'll use it maybe once if I go somewhere. Other than that, I don't really care about selfies. I don't really take a lot of pictures of things, right? But that's being said, I do appreciate a nice camera, and this phone has an excellent camera. I'll link up these pictures here in the description box below so you can see them. It's a great camera. If you've used an iPhone 7 Plus or an iPhone 8, or if you've seen those photos, it looks like them, it's comparable to them, and it's slightly better in some situations, but really not that much of a difference you'll notice. Don't upgrade to this phone if you just want a better camera. It's really not much of a noticeable difference, to be honest. They almost look identical. As you're quickly looking at the phone here, I do want to show you something because I am going to talk about it later. If you look at the top of the notches here, there's no notifications. It doesn't show you this stuff here, and it's supposed to. And this just happened, and it's happened to me before. I've had to restart the phone completely to actually get them back, and I'll do that in front of you just now and talk about it a little bit. So the way you restart this phone is you hold the power button and then the volume up button. You hold them together. Turn it back on. So as you saw, like this software glitch here, the phone is kind of glitchy. So this is Apple's first iPhone 10 and this is first kind of iOS 11 on it. And I honestly do notice a bit of glitches on it. Every now and then something happens that it glitches out. So you saw these here. Also kind of the phone gets stuck now and then. The scrolling doesn't really work all the time. Sometimes pressing on the screen doesn't work the best either. There's all these little things that happen with the phone all the time now that kind of, here guys, look, they're back. See, it's just one of those glitches that keeps happening every now and then. This is all gonna get fixed by a software issue. I do want to talk about the performance again. So like I said in the beginning of the video, this OS version does have quite a bit of quite a bit of glitches that happen, and I know this is going to get fixed later on, but it is a problem. You're paying so much money for this phone that you'd want it to be perfect, but it's not. This is something that's going to get fixed later on with more software updates, with more optimizations that are just going to get. But for now though, you are going to have a few glitches, you're going to have a few apps that crash. I've noticed actually the most crashes with apps that still don't support the screen completely, like so, like here. They sort of crash a little bit more. Now, most of the Apple apps are okay, they don't really crash that much. They work just fine, but you will have a few glitches now and there. And that's strange to say about iOS, because from my previous experience with all other iPhones, it's usually very stable, it usually works just well. This though, it's not that good just yet. I know it's going to get better. For now, you are going to have to live with a few glitches and a few bugs until Apple irons them out. So one of the things that I love about this phone is actually the speakers. I listen to a lot of music on my phone, and I prefer to actually a lot of times listen to it from the built-in speakers. Before this one, I tested out the Galaxy Note 8, and I didn't like the speakers on that phone. They weren't the best. I noticed a big difference on the iPhone 10. So let's play the song for you. Somebody else in my mind. So as you can see, the speakers are quite nice, they're quite rich, you can really hear the tone of the music. I enjoy it, I like it, I think it's a really well built speaker. So talking about speakers and music, the phone doesn't have a headphone jack, so you're going to have to use the connector that comes in the box of the phone. Now, I only have one pair of headphones, and I usually have the connector connected to those headphones. So it really doesn't bother me much because I'm just using that pair of headphones with this phone exclusively, and I only use it when I go work out, for example, and I just need the headphones. Other than that, I haven't really had much complaints about the lack of a headphone jack. It doesn't really bother me as much. So as for my final thoughts, do I recommend this phone? Should you go pay Apple that insane amount of money to get it? And the answer is, as much as I want to say yes, I'm going to say no. It works, it's a good phone, it's a great phone, I think it's going to get better with time, but for now, I don't think it's worth that much money. I think there's quite a bit of little issues, little kinks that are in the phone that are going to get fixed later on, especially because this is a first generation iPhone if you think about it. The next phones, I'm 100% sure the notch is going to get smaller and smaller and smaller until it disappears. You're not going to have a notch anymore, it's just going to be one big screen, and that's the kind of thing you want to think about now. If you buy this phone, you're buying a first generation product that's going to just get improved and improved and improved. And every year Apple releases another phone, everybody goes crazy over it, and everybody says it's the best iPhone ever. It's the same scenario with this. Next year's iPhone is going to be better than this. Now, Apple products usually last you a couple of years before they get old. They last quite a bit of while and they work quite well. So buying a first generation product usually isn't that bad because it does last. But with this one, I am going to say hold off until the second generation of this phone, because mainly the notch, because the notch is the most annoying thing about this phone. I am 100% sure Apple is going to fix it somehow. It's slowly going to reduce it until it's gone, and I think next year's model is going to have a better sized notch than this. I don't think it's going to go away right away. I just think it's going to get smaller, because realistically, if you look at the notch really closely, let's get the camera to zoom in. The speaker is just here and the camera sensor is just kind of right there. So if this reduces a little bit, shouldn't affect it, and I'm sure it's going to happen. So again, final thoughts, great phone, don't buy it, it's too expensive right now. Wait until the next generation comes out. I think that's where you should spend your money. Thanks for watching, guys. If you have any questions about the phone, just let me know.